Surviving the boat was its own kind of pain. I want to be honest about that. When you imagine it ending, you imagine relief, stepping off into sunlight, breathing clean air, and feeling like you made it, like you won something. But that's not what it was. The door opens and the world is so quiet. Like it almost hurt. 600 years of living and the world had never been this quiet. No neighbors, no markets, no children playing somewhere in the distance. No drums from the festivals the people used to throw near our construction site, mocking us, dancing on the edges of our work. Just silence. And mud. And us. First step I took off the boat and the ground took my weight and I just stood there. First thing I felt was grief. I grieved. Before the altar, before the sky, I grieved. Mostly the people who didn't make it. I could still feel the pounds on the hull of the boat. The ones whose voices I heard through the wood until the rain, the flood drowned them out. Since then, I've been asked, do you feel guilty about, surviving? And the honest answer is, for a while, yeah. Those people, the ones whose cries I heard, they had been suffering long before the water came. The world we were living in was already a kind of drowning. There was so much violence and cruelty and the slow erosion of anything and everything good. The sounds of humanity before the flood weren't the sounds of thriving. They were screams. They were pain. They were people tearing each other apart. The silence of the New World wasn't an absence. It was the end of that. And I get the sense that the God who grieved over what they had become did not stop grieving when the water rose. So I built the altar, and I'm standing in front of it watching the smoke begin to rise, and something happened to me. I thought I knew God. 600 years of living with him, a year of floating, almost 100 years of building the boat with him. I thought by now I knew him. I thought I had him figured out. He's a God of instruction, a God of precision, cubits, and so much gopher wood and pitch. And, he's a God who tells you what to do and you do it. But standing in front of that altar, I don't think God needed my altar at all. I think in the past I thought he needed it or wanted it. But something very unusual happened. I started to realize as I'm standing there watching the smoke rise, the God who made everything, who just unmade and remade the whole world, he didn't need the smoke that was rising. He didn't need the sacrifice. He didn't decide in that moment how to feel about me. He already knew how he felt about me. He knew before the boat, before the instructions, before the building, before any of it. The altar was not for him, it was for me. I see it now. It was the way that I could tell him, I see you, God, and I know you got me here, and I don't know what comes next, but I don't want to take one more step without acknowledging that you're the one that got me here. The smoke went up and And he came. I mean, he was there. My family knew it. God was there. I know he's everywhere, but he was there. And when he spoke, the first thing he said before the covenant, before the promise, was that he was grieved. It's not that he told me this in like a direct sentence. It wasn't like a speech or anything. It was more like a quality in his presence, a weight of feeling that came like with him. Like when someone walks into a room and you know before they say a word they've been crying. He was grieved. Not at me, not at us, at what his world had become. And what his people had done to themselves and to each other. He was grieved at watching everything he made in love get torn apart by the very hands he shaped. I had always thought the flood was about his anger. I understand now that the flood was about his love. A grief so deep, so complete, a father watching his children destroy themselves and each other. And he didn't want to punish them or us, but he wanted to stop the bleeding, to put an end to the world that had become an engine of its own suffering. He didn't send the flood to destroy the world. He sent the flood to set his plan in motion. And I was a part of that plan. Not because I was the best man he could find. I know that's not the case, but because his grace found me first. And when his grace finds you, it transforms you. And when it transforms you, God uses that. I admit I'm still trying to understand that. And then he said to me, "Look up." I looked up and there it was. And maybe already you know my story and you're thinking rainbow, right? But I need to actually tell you what I saw. It's been softened over the years. We've made it a gentle and pretty thing we put in kids' rooms, and I understand why. It's beautiful, but I was a man of my time, and the first thing that I registered when I looked at that colorful arc across the sky was not beauty. It was kashet. That's our Hebrew word for war bow. The word kashet meant one thing to every man of my generation. It meant the weapon of an archer. Tension, power, something drawn back and ready to fly, something about to be released at a target. I know what a bow does. I buried people who felt what the war bow does. And so I look up at this kashet stretched across from horizon to horizon, and the first thing I feel is like a strange fear, like an old fear, the soldier's fear. The ancient understanding of what it means when someone draws a bow. And then I followed the angle of it. It wasn't pointed at the earth. It wasn't pointed at us. It wasn't pointed at me. The rainbow? It's pointed up. Into the sky. Like into himself. And I gotta tell you, I understood that this thing is way bigger than I can even put into words. That what I was watching was a God taking the weapon of judgment and aiming it at himself, inward, upward, away from every living thing on earth and toward himself. It was pretty apparent. That beautiful rainbow was telling us, whatever this costs, I'll pay it. Whatever arrow was owed by the brokenness of this world, I'll take it. I had thought the kashet was about me, about us, about a promise that we were safe now, but standing there with the colors burning overhead, I realized it really wasn't about me or us at all. It was about him. It was about his plans and his promises, and a love so relentless that it would rather absorb judgment than spend it on the ones it made. I fell to my knees in the mud, not because of fear, but from the force of being completely and utterly undone by a God I